this is just one area, one segment of our kind of match planning process where I focused on again, we call it against the ball defending. We call it against the ball because we think it right away communicates a more aggressive approach than defending. So we say it's against the ball. So yeah, so that I'll kind of take you through it. So we first kind of look at how are they going to play, what sort of lineup do they use, what formation do they play in, what player personnel do they have, what are the strengths and weaknesses of those players, that kind of thing. So we put this up and we said this is their most used lineup and what we expect. On the day they actually made one change to this lineup that we predicted, which was Tomiyasu played at left back instead of Zinchenko. Which when we show this as what we expect the lineup to be, but then we'll also talk about okay, well if Tierney plays, he's a little bit different than Zinchenko, or Tomiyasu is a bit different, or we talk about some variations that they might try to use. But first we look at okay, what formation do they play, and from there, teams don't play in one formation throughout the whole game. So we're talking about what does this then look like when they're in possession versus when they're defending. And when they were in possession, when Zinchenko played, usually he would come in to make sort of 2 6s, and they would build up with 3. They would push Xhaka higher. Odegaard would like to come into this sort of peeled out wide 10 area in here, which a lot of teams struggle to defend with. So we talked about a match plan on how we dealt with this, but we looked at Arsenal and how they would line up. From that, again, throughout the week we were talking about different players that could play and different ways we maybe approach it. But this is the starting lineup we ended up going with and what we showed the team beforehand. And this shape here is our against the ball or defending shape.
Yeah.
And we said this is we had little details in here in which we said that when Ben White comes more narrow and creates a 3 build up with Saliba and Gabriel, then we had Sinistera in here ready to press Ben White, and we had Rodrigo here ready to press Gabriel. And we said if Odegaard comes out into this space, then if Odegaard comes out into this space, then Mark Roca can deal with that. And so we set up the defensive shape somewhat based upon what we expected Arsenal to do.
Yeah.
From there, we then rotated like this when we had possession to create our own 3 build up with sort of 2 6s, and we thought this would challenge them in different ways as well. So we show the players that this is how we want to defend, this is how we want to attack, and this is kind of the roles in which you'll have. So we kind of introduced that to the players throughout the week, and this wasn't something new for us. We'd been doing this, so that was easier for the players to then understand.
Yeah.
So from there, then the first part of this, I've organised this almost into kind of 4 parts, and then I've got a little bit of transition. But I sort of introduced first. Okay, here's what Arsenal want to do. Here's how Arsenal try to attack. Then here's how we want to defend. Then I'll show us doing it in training, and then I'll show us implementing it in the game. That's the kind of process. So, from here, the idea was to show this is what Arsenal try to do on goal kicks. They spread the pitch, they push their wingers high. Gabriel, Jesus comes underneath, and this is the setup. And sometimes they're doing this to then play long. So we said we don't want to get stretched and allow Ramsdale, who's got a very long goal kick, be able to put it into a wide open space. So we said, this game we're going to drop off and come to what we call pressing line 2, and we'll pick them up more in this part of the pitch to eliminate the keeper and eliminate this long ball. And we just sort of show then, okay, here's just an example of how far he can kick it, how wide open Fulham are in this moment, and it just takes for them to pick up one of these second balls, and now they're playing little balls in behind you and they're coming at you, and we wanted to avoid that. So we showed that that's what they want to do in those situations. We show here, in this situation, this is actually Martinelli rotated inside and Xhaka's wide, but quite quickly they then swap positions. But we show the players and we use some of these animations to show who's who. So the players are recognizing, okay, oh, that isn't a 6, that's a left back rotating in. And they then look to sometimes play these passes. So we use, again, I think where I can come in and help is an analyst can put this together. They have the skill set to do it, but I think me understanding exactly what Jesse wants, I can look at the scene and I can predict what Jesse would like our players to be doing, which is to be more connected in here, to be a little bit higher in here, and controlling these spaces. So being able to move the players so the players can look and see, okay, that's the breakdown, that's where I should be, or that's where I'm going to be positioned. So, in this situation, Rodrigo understanding that he can't be too high, that he has to be more connected so that we can close that type of pass. And Brendan Aronson more in this position now, not deep and creating a flat four, higher. So these are the kind of ways in which we can then paint the picture to the players of what we want them to be doing, while showing them this is Arsenal's tendencies. Yeah. Those little rotations. You can see now Xhaka rotating in. We talk about these are now pressing triggers in any game. Any kind of long pass that's we say a pass that's twice the distance of the pressing distance is a good moment to now press. So it's just an example of that.
I don't want to disrupt it too much here. I just want to ask you about the kind of telestrations, because it's clear that you're using them here. And when I say that, I mean like the animations you mentioned. So how important do you feel they are? And because a lot of things I do see on kind of when I see people share things on Twitter, which is, I mean, I'm a big proponent of it. I do think these are brilliant what you've got on here, but I think there can be a balance between getting it right, but also just having too much going on in terms of arrows everywhere and everything. So how do you find that you get the most from the use of telestrations animations? Why is it important for the players?
Yeah, for me, the importance comes in that I think there's a couple of things for me, and I try to use text in there as well, because I know that the reality is at times players are sitting there and Jesse's talking or the head coach is talking, and you've got players that speak different languages. I mean, they all understand English, but I think sometimes you can also, in moments, find yourself, I kind of stopped listening, but I was looking.
Yeah.
So part of it for me is that even if they kind of zone out of Jesse for a moment, they're seeing the message and they're hearing the message, and then they're going to work on the message in training. So I do think it's important that the players, although this clip shows Fulham in this example getting played through at moments, that the players are constantly seeing the behaviours and the positionings and the types of things that we want. So like from this example, we're showing this to say, guys, this is a moment for us. We're expecting you to press for sure. It's a moment that it's a long pass, the distance is good. You should now be going on that. And this shows that kind of ball goes there, and the Fulham player doesn't really sprint and press in this moment. He kind of loops his run and goes a little bit slow. So we're making sure that the players understand clearly that this is what we want. This is our expectations from them. So I think that's where when you're talking about it and communicating it through to the players, those telestrations and animations can help. This one I didn't do it because it shows it again. But Jesse would be talking and saying, yeah, again, Rodrigo, you can't be opening this space because they'll start playing those passes. So in two occasions there, the players are seeing, okay, if we open that space, Arsenal will find it. And then they can start to pull us out and find Jesus often likes to drop and show for the ball to feet, not so much a runner in behind in these situations. So we talk about those, being ready to jump on those passes, but it starts to, for me, introduce to the players what they want to do, but also what we're doing. I mean, even this, it's, putting the text on there is just reminders to the players that this is what's happening. They often look for these diagonal chips to the back post.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just the attention, isn't it? Like it's when I put a video on YouTube, like everyone, it's about kind of keeping the viewers' attention, and the ball's out on the far side. But the fact that the text popped up straight away, I know what I need to focus on, what I'm going to, what you're showing me. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that for me, that's the idea of it, and I value a lot trying to move the players into the exact position that we want them to be in, because like in this situation, I'm often watching games and I'm seeing teams do some things which are good, but not doing exactly what we want. So we use some of these clips to show the players, because it's Arsenal, we have to show Arsenal, but we haven't played Arsenal yet, so a team hasn't done to Arsenal what we want to do. So we use the animations and the telestrations to move the opposition, to put them into positions, to draw arrows in lines to say, this is what we're expecting to do, this is what we would do in this situation, so that although the team doesn't do it on the video clip, the players are understanding what it should look like. So that's kind of it. So, again, we're saying that this is something they like to do. They like to look for these balls in behind with Martinelli and Saka on the other side. So, we highlight that with the red arrow, the red spotlight.
Yeah.
Again, then this clip plays a little bit. on, and then again, it's the diagonal chip. So 2 times the players are seeing this diagonal chip. This is something they're trying to do. This is the space that often they look to target. So we've put that in red. The players are now visualizing that space and the importance of defending well in that space. You know, we use this last one just to show again a little tendency for the players that the Fulham player starts to get drawn out. Arsenal love to play this little interior pass and diagonal run. So we just show that this is what they like to do. And often then Odegaard is looking for the cutback cross. So
yeah,
this time it's Partey, I think. But the idea is to introduce what Arsenal do, to use some of the illustrations to still show what we would be doing. But that part of it is more, here's Arsenal's tendencies, here's what they're trying to do, here's where they want to hurt us.
That's good.
And then we now go into this part, which is the match plan against the ball. So one of the things we said, which was that Gabriel at times we felt making more mistakes at this moment in the season than Saliba. So we thought, let's put him under pressure immediately.
Yeah.
So we just used this, and some of this as well is it, for me, it gives the players a bit of confidence. At this point in time, Arsenal, I think they played. This was the 11th game of the season. Arsenal had won 9 games and lost 1. So it's also shown the players, look, this team, if we run at them and we put them under pressure, here's Fulham winning balls off of Gabriel. That you can hurt them by doing this. So again, it's partly to go confidence to the players. There's ways we can hurt them if we run at them, if we put them under pressure, and we do our tactics and our principles right. So here's another one where Fulham end up getting a goal. Gabriel a little bit sloppy with his touch. Fulham win the ball and they go 1-0 up on the day. So we use then a player profile and some statistics to maybe look at and say, maybe here's one little weakness that they're experiencing right now.
So Ewan, just so this whole presentation or similar presentation is this presented on the day of the game, the day before the game? Is it to all the players? How does that look?
It's a good question. So the way I kind of pulled this video together through 3 or 4 different meetings,
right?
That I pieced together. So some of it's maybe shown up in different ways. We try to avoid showing the same clip twice to the players. We want to show different scenes. But the way this one was put together was, I think earlier in the week, like on the Wednesday, we showed some of what Arsenal wanted to do and introduced a little bit of what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
But then on the Thursday or the Friday, we maybe then show more of this part of it, this match plan part. I think potentially on Friday we then showed this against the ball match plan, because Thursday may have been more focused on us in possession and how we wanted to attack and what they would do defensively. Whereas so this part is now just against the ball, was maybe more of a focus for the Friday. So more of these scenes maybe showed up on Friday before we trained it on Friday.
Yeah.
So they've maybe seen it multiple times throughout the week, and then what you'll see later in the video is that it's then scenes of us in training doing it, and that's over 2 different training sessions. Again, one is the Wednesday session, the other one is the Friday session. So the players have seen it, done it in training a couple of times, and then it gets shown to them again on match day from training. So I'll talk about that when we get to that part. So this is now showing clearly for us more like what we want to do than that very first clip we looked at. It's a goal kick for Arsenal. We don't want to be stepped up and letting them play it long. We want to be dropping off and finding more this pressing line 2 situation. So that's what we start to show here. We felt that was good because then it helped with this rotation. There wasn't as much space in here. And then our match plan was press Gabriel. When the ball went to Gabriel, we would then sprint at him. For us, we're saying that the sprint here isn't enough for us. We would want to be sprinting faster in this moment, but tactically, the shaping is close to us.
Yeah.
So a tactical idea was that we then would allow this pass to go back to Saliba, and we would have Jack Harrison, and then in the second half it ends up being Brendan Aronson controlling the 6 here. So we say there, wait to press Saliba. If it goes to Ben White, we had Sinisterra on that side ready to jump out and press. So we're showing that Fulham are kind of doing that in this situation. We would now be saying sprint again, but the players are seeing, okay, I can understand, I think, what we want to do and how we want to play. And then we start to talk about, as he then comes, that's now the moment we jump. So using, again, these animations, the illustrations, the text, the players go, okay, as he comes, we tighten the net. That's our terminology. And we we press with the 6 now in our shadow because it's much closer. It's much harder for them to find that.
Yeah.
Um,
That's maybe a daft question to you. And you mentioned the pressing line too. So in terms of them lines, I'm presuming they are definitions that you guys internally have of how deep and how high to press. So how many would you have pressing line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Like how, and is that just of how high and up the pitch that would begin?
Yeah, I mean, we typically, at different times you get pushed deep and you have to defend deeper. We usually talked about pressing line 1 was essentially pressing the very first pass from the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Pressing line 2 was sort of coming more into now this area. We wanted the confrontation to be maybe 15, 20 yards outside the box.
Yeah.
Pressing line 3 now is maybe more around the top of the circle, where we're now coming a bit more deep and we're now pressing in here. And you'll see from the game clips at times we're pressing line 3, 2, 1, there's moments where a free kick's given away here and now you're pressing line 3. But the point was that our starting point was more thinking pressing line 2. We weren't going to press that first pass, but we also didn't want to come too deep to start off with. Ideally, we were playing more in that pressing line 2 space where our idea is to have the back line almost at the halfway line and the front line here. It's 20 yards, 25 yards, whereas instead of being here and here or being all the way up here and being stretched. And I think what's important then in some of these things is that when I said about the principles and the behaviours, that now in these moments, it's not so much about the tactical element of it. It's now the behavioural element of it and the principles which we have, which is in these areas, we want to be aggressive. We want to go in. We want to join in. We want to swarm in these situations and win the ball, which I think comes across clearly when you see us in training. So for us, we have to build in the behaviours of what the players have to do, and now we can then talk about tactics. But the behaviours have to be there. And for us, what we were seeing was in some of this, the tactical idea from Fulham was good, but the behaviours were different from us. Not maybe it works for them, maybe it doesn't. But we were now saying this is not enough for us. We don't want to just get close. We don't want to just get close here and then back off. He should be trying to win the ball, ready to join in, shifting across some of these now behavioural things that become we value more than Fulham in this moment where they're letting them out. So we're saying that we don't want to let them to that point even.
Yeah.
I can zip through some of this, but we thought this was a good example again of the spacing that Liverpool have and the behaviours and the mentality that they're trying to implement, much more similar to what we wanted to see. So we've talked about this is Tomiyasu who ended up playing in our game. So we prepared to say if it's Tomiyasu, he might be more here, and if he is, then Brendan Aronson, you're going to jump and press him. So we've prepared for some different scenarios of if he's in here or if he's there. And again, these are now what I would call behaviours of Van Dijk, the behaviour of Nunes. I think it's here that's now on the front foot, looking to win the ball when it comes. So we highlight those little behaviours and we think about if that's us, that's what we want to be doing. That's the kind of body shape, language, the mentality that we would have. And I think this last one was about how we deal with this little rotation from Odegaard, that he often liked to do this kicked out. We call it kicked out, this rotation out wide. And we said that with 3 in midfield, we can deal with that by having our ex, which was in this game, Mark Roca, step out and deal with that. So that was just to show that.
It's good, yeah. It's really powerful that, like I say, moving the players, literally saying this is where we want you to be in this situation. I think that's really powerful.
I think that's it for me. I think about, the players, even if they don't hear Jesse, they should be able to watch the video and see what we want them to do so that when it goes onto the pitch, it becomes clearer for them. And that's why I think there's a lot of value in what I can bring with that part of it,
Yeah, definitely.
This is not, it's not always so clear to see with the training video because of the sun a little bit and the bibs always make it a little bit harder to see. So maybe I'll skip a few of these scenes, but I think this clip, I believe this is from match day -1, but a couple of other clips are match day -3. So you see that we drip this in the training. So even there, we're saying, look, we're a little bit too deep here. We want to be a little bit higher and now be in front of the 6. So we're showing the players in training the shape's good, but here's now the details that we have to get right. Ready to do that, ready to jump. So we use these training clips. Often we sometimes will show these during the week, but often we'll use these training clips actually on match day it before we go to the stadium, to bring the players in and say, look, we'll review our match plan through what we did in training and the behaviours in training and the good things from training that we did. So we're showing these little details of everything that they've seen. They've seen Liverpool players do it. Now they're seeing themselves do it, and now they've done it on the pitch. So those different ways in which that then is translated to them. It's seeing a team do it, then doing it themselves, then seeing themselves do it. And having some corrections in there. And there you're seeing some of the behaviours of going in and then transitioning and playing forward. We talk about this rest defence that I mentioned before, so showing that in training, let's make sure that we're always on top of that and getting that right. This is the one now that's from the match day -3. We put this in here to go. We put a player on a different penny. That was Saliba. That was how we were then going to make it clear to the players that was the player we were going to press his next pass and not press him right away. Showing again, and I put these little bits of text in again just to remind the players this is always what we're looking for. Can we play that first pass forward if possible?
Yes. Yeah, I like it. I like how it builds up, like I said, match -3, -1 in terms of refining it and then showing themselves doing it and then just making those small adjustments ready for the game. I think that's really...
Yeah, for sure. And the little things like this then, right? Like I'm showing here that if he takes a bigger touch, then you can jump it. So he doesn't do it in this moment quite the same way, but the players are understanding, okay, those are the things that I'm looking for now. It's the player, it's the touch, it's the long pass, it's those types of things to help communicate what we want. Like that. Now that long ball becomes a little bit less controlled and we're having to shift across and defend those situations. And, so I think it's about how do you get your messages across to the players through video, through doing it in training, through reviewing the training, making the videos clear so that the players can see exactly what we want to be doing here so that he goes. I mean, this is now again what for me behaviours. It's the principle, the tactic was for him to press him, but it's not just press and stop. We've built in that he now continues. He continues. Watch Rodrigo here. He continues. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4 players against 2. That mentality that we said, Fulham weren't quite aggressive enough. In training, we're going, guys, this is what it is for us. For us, it's this. It's going, it's coming back, it's winning it. 4 players against 2, trying to play fast, playing forward, those behaviours, those habits, counter-pressing when we lose it. And I think for me, my point is just, how do you then get through video, through coaching, those different elements, the players to do what you want. So I'm understanding that in this moment, the little technical things that our shape is good. When we see that body language, that's the moment that we should be thinking about dropping. That's what coaches are always teaching players to do. And then it's always coming back for the second ball. So I'm using those animations to make it clear to the players, this is what we should be doing. This is the expectation. And this is now the behaviour,
Nice.
So I think this was now, I can skip through this a little bit. This was now just to show that then it's the deep third. If we get pushed deep, we have this mentality that everybody's coming back and trying to win the ball, and we've got everybody connected. And then in transition, we're looking to attack this space. So we're highlighting little things like that. In the last part, really, I won't go through the whole rest of the video, but this last part then is now us doing it in the game. So I said to you this to you before we started the podcast was that this video is repetitive. It's meant to be repetitive because that's how you're trying to make it so the players, they see it once, they do it, they see it again, and then they do it in the game, and then they get feedback on it at halftime, and so that there has to be that repetitiveness and that consistency. And I also think sometimes the animations can be tedious, but can also then be more engaging if they're done right. And now the players are seeing it, and it becomes really clear to them. And now you're hoping that on match day you do it. And in this game, we lost this game 1-0, but we had more chances, more shots on target. We missed a penalty late in the game, which would have at least leveled the game if obviously we scored it. But we were really, really happy with the way the team played. And we felt like against a team that had won 9 games, one of the best teams in the league, we should have got at least a draw, if not won the game. But that's the thing, is you can do all this good work and you can do it well in the game. And you'll see from some of these scenes, you'll see, my gosh, how did they not get a chance off there or not score there? But ultimately, in my role, in the coach's role, you're trying to set the players up to have success. And in the end, whether they have the success or not is dictated by their performance on the day, the opposition's performance on the day, referee decisions. That ultimately these are the things which you can't control. But we're showing the habits there now, the sprinting. So when we're in this higher press mode, This, going from pressing line 2 into kind of pressing line 1, that's the behaviours that we were adopting. We were waiting and then we were sprinting. Here's one of the first moments in the game. Our tactics of not pressing Saliba right away. He's a bit unsure. I mean, it's 45 seconds and you can see he's a little bit unsure what to do because he expected us to press him.
Yeah.
We're waiting there. We're not getting stretched. We'll always wanted to put Gabriel under some pressure. So that's what we're thinking about. We've done this in training. We've seen this. We know if the 6 comes that we want to be on that. And right away, minute in, we don't let them play through us. We force them to give the ball out for a throw in. So right away we were going, yeah, okay, that's a good start, a good approach from us. And then just different moments where we're now getting to see some of those behaviours in place. The tactics there, closing the middle, but now it's sprinting, going in, winning the ball. Should be a big chance. Could have been a goal there easily right after halftime to make it 1-1, but yeah, don't quite pull it off in the end. There's just an example. It wasn't a lot of mistakes from him on the day, but there's an example of, we said, let's try and run it. Gabriel, put him under pressure and make him make mistakes. And there we run at him, and 6 minutes into the game, he plays a loose pass right into the middle. We win it, and now we're looking to transition. So, we'll then show some of these clips to the players after the game, and we're saying, look, we didn't win the game, we lost the game on the day, but yeah, we're making progress. We're doing the things that we want. We're recognising those moments to press. We could be sprinting a little bit more there, but we're controlling the middle. Here's that little rotation where we said before the game, yeah, Odegaard likes to come out into that space. If you watch Arsenal, you'll see Odegaard often floats out there. But we're able to deal with that. We know that. Mark Roca is ready to deal with that because we've got that kind of 3-3 shape with the midfield and the forwards. And then it's the going in and the winning the ball in those wide areas. So this again, for me, this almost looks like that training clip where I said, look at Rodrigo and his behaviour. He presses here, so highlighting Rodrigo. Rodrigo presses here. Like in training, he continues. And now all of a sudden, you've got 2 Arsenal players against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Leeds players. And some coaches will say, well, they don't want that because it's not good. But we are saying we want that because we want to win the ball there and not let them out and keep having to shift and defend the spaces of the full pitch, which we're there, we win a throw in. So that time it works for us. And that's how we want to play and what we look for. So through training the tactics, but then also the behaviours in the training of smaller space stuff, we get the players to have these behaviours and these habits and these principles, which I think are in every game. And for me, I've always been a part of the Red Bull model, whether it's Ralf or Jesse or Chris, that the behavioural parts are always there. It's now, how do we get the players to recognise when they do it right, do it well? Another moment right after, again, this is 10 minutes into the second half, a big transition moment where, we again, as a coaching staff, you're thinking you've got to score from one of these moments, but it's not always the case, and you're trying to put your team in a good situation. Behaviours again of forward defending and stepping in, and Liam Cooper, like we showed with Van Dijk, we highlighted Van Dijk in that one moment. We said, look at his mentality and how ready he is, and yeah, Liam Cooper doing the exact same thing sets us up for transition. So also recognising those things and showing the players afterwards, look, you guys did it in training well, you did it in the game well, you're getting our behaviours. We see it, we appreciate it. That's what we expect from you, is that you're doing these things. Also, I think just helps with the players' buy-in of how we want to play and implementation of the tactics. So at times having to put a positive spin on a bad result, right? That you're going, look, we're defending those balls. We talked about the runs in behind from Martinelli and Saka, and we did a really good job here of not getting too tight, reading it, ready to drop and defend that ball behind. So every element of that match plan, the training, and now this, it showed up in the video, in the training, and in the match. So it's for me, it's rewarding when you see that you're getting it in training, you're doing it in the games. You're the players are getting it right. Ultimately you want rewarded from the result, but you have to take some appreciation from the process of getting there. Again, we talked about coming back in the deep areas, and we do that. We talked about the defending outside the box and not letting that ball get played through in between us, like we saw in that one clip with the Fulham game. So these types of things. And I think the last thing I had was then I just sort of had some transition moments, and then so from winning the ball, the defending, but then the spaces we wanted to attack and transition. So, I'll sort of fast forward through this. We've said that this was a space we wanted to look for. And we said that, I'll fast forward this a little bit. We said that if we can win second balls in these types of moments, that we thought we had an advantage with Sinisterra running in behind the space that Ben White was supposed to be in. We thought that was an advantage. We used a clip of Man U here. Again, we said Sinisterra against Ben White. We thought maybe that's a little advantage. It's hard to get advantages against Arsenal, but we thought that would be one, which is how Man U scored against them. So again, I don't have to show all of this, but we show us doing it in training. And then we pick a couple of moments where we do some of those things in the game again. So here Sinisterra coming into that space, winning the ball, being able to be an option in that space, pulls Ben White out, and now we're able to hurt their backline because they've only got 3 players in the backline instead of 4, because Ben White's been pulled out, and we find a little through ball there, which again almost comes off for a goal for us.
Yeah, well, that's really good. Obviously that was really good, Ewan. I think like the fact that you could see it, the game that was the Rodrigo clip, it was literally an identical clip. And you mentioned obviously the frustration of losing the game at the end of that, but I think if you it's kind of reinforcing the behaviours over time. If you can do that over a full season and ingrain these kind of behaviours, and so the players know their role, etc., it's obviously going to iron out over the course of a season. It's kind of building that, like you say, the style of play and philosophy that is quite famous with Jesse and the Red Bull kind of team.
Yeah, of course. And looking again, when you're with the reality of when you're with Leeds United playing against Arsenal at that time, it's not an even playing field, right? You're playing against better players and in a top team. It was in top form at the time. So again, I think the point of it is that from my role and my experiences, that the opportunity for me to have been in that environment now and test some of those things and think about, this team is really good at this. What could be a game plan that might work for us? Because you're trying to find something that you're hoping can hurt a team which is really good at what they're trying to do. So can this work? Can we then make sure that we get it right in training? And then does it work in the game? And for me, on that day, I went home at night frustrated, really, really frustrated that we didn't win the game, but also knowing that from that, at least from that part of the game, the against the ball game plan and what we were trying to do, that worked on the day. That was effective on the day. We won enough balls to create chances in transition. We won a penalty. One of the clips I sort of skipped at the end was we won a penalty from a transition moment where we attacked the spaces that we wanted to attack. So you go, I'm doing my job right. Our approach is right in training as a staff. We're getting the things done in the right way, and then you've got to hope that results come and that you can get the other parts of the game right. We didn't look at what we did with the ball. Can you improve that in areas, and did that work? And so you're trying to look at all of that and use the video for me as a big tool to communicate that to the players, review things with the players. And the one part I've not really talked about, but we're also informing some of those decisions based on things we're seeing from the data side of it.
Yeah.